Welcome back, everyone, to another Company of Heroes 2 replay cast. And this time we're going to have a 2v2 from companyofheroes2.org. It is going to be uploaded by Insane Spanky, pretty well-known player in the community. He's going to be playing as the USF. The map is Hamlet, and we have our ally spawning in the north spawn, and his ally is going to be Nozlu Reborn. Pretty sure that's the same person. And yes, she's also pretty damn famous. Also playing as the USF, already going with some Armor Company Assault Engineers, so we already see a doctrinal pick from Spanky. The opponents are going to be just one, playing as the Wehrmacht, and no, you're lying, because there's also a friend. There's El Zocco, playing as the OKW. So we have OKW and Wehrmacht versus two USF, and we see that Nozlu is going for some riflemen, bringing out more squads now, and a bit of a double team coming in on the left side with the Sturmpiles coming in and capturing the cutoff point. Hamlet is a map that's very wide but not deep, so the two bases are pretty close to each other. They've only got 1 point separating them at the thinnest, with the strategic point over here near the bridge on this side and near the crossing on the other side. Of course, the smoke is going to make me drop a ton of FPS on this map. And yes, unfortunately, these Stern Pioneers, after getting the capture on this point, are going to have to be retreated out of the line of sight of these American troops. Very, very nicely getting a couple of casualties off, but very nicely a sniper coming in from just one. Sniper pretty much first build. Well, he waited for the first Grenadier, but then he went for a sniper. So very early on, actually no, he built the sniper first. Very early on, going for the sniper, going to be helpful in this sort of open environment on the left side of the map. On the right side, we see that these assault engineers managed to get into pretty close range with the watchtower, but the watchtower providing enough heavy cover for these Volksgrenadiers to completely massacre the squad and forcing them backpacking across the river. And of course, this is going to mean that these Volksgrenadiers try to come in and capture the strategic point on the right side, and they're kind of stopping these riflemen. Riflemen are going to be taking some fire from the MG on the Cuba wagon, but I'm thinking that the Volksgrenadiers are going to lose their fight against the riflemen because of their low HP anyway. Center firmly under control of the OKW and the German sniper, whereas the left side is kind of contested between some American forces from Nozlu and of course the sniper and Grenadiers from just one, which are still kind of roaming around the left side of the map. Very, very nicely, the Pioneers captured all the points over here on the extreme left, including the strategic point and the VP, while on the right side we have El Zocco putting some pressure on Insane Spanky and Nozlu to send some more troops to the right side. Very nice flank coming in from these rear echelon troops. Going to be able to get into the rear of these folks, but the folks see what's going on and they manage to get some very good answering fire on the rear echelon troops, cutting down 2 of them before they're able to force away the folks due to low HP. So overall, well played by El Zocco, even though he lost the engagement and the terrain. He's going to have inflicted a few casualties more on the allies than what they would have bargained for. In fact, the results of said casualties are these assault engineers coming back on the field after getting completely smashed earlier on, and now they're going to be looking towards, looks like capturing some points, maybe flanking around this MG42. The MG42 is covering the central VP, so there's some target that the allies absolutely need to take out, but the flanks of the MG are well covered by the sniper, so this is a very good combination from just one. And now, of course, the MG is going to get spotted by our lovely assault engineers, who are right now going to be sent packing once again. Not a good day for them. Left side of the map, the riflemen get into the, corner building near the strategic point, but they're going to be facing off against the Grenadiers at a pretty long range, so I'm thinking that Nozlu's riflemen really can't win this engagement. There are, however, more rifleman squads coming in. 4 riflemen from Nozlu. He's going to be able to spread them around the map like a wildfire and jam, and he's going to be able to essentially put down some pressure on many sides of the map at once, but also whenever he wants, he can just bring them back together and use them as a concentrated fist to punch against German defenses into one area. So this is going to definitely be very scary for the Germans in the early game to have 4 riflemen against them. Remains to be seen how well they're used, though. Mortar on the right side for Insane Spanky. Pretty good decision, in my opinion. Holy shit, that's a lot of wind. Hold on. Okay, shouldn't be that hard on the microphone, but if you're hearing, like, random gusts of wind under the microphone, sorry. You just have to keep the window open because it's just so very, very hot. And right now, yes, so the mortar providing some fire support for our allied troops as they push forward and force the Germans back. As you can see, the riflemen from Naslu definitely providing some support in there. The second Rifleman squad on the left side of the map has been almost destroyed, looks like by a combination of Sturm Pioneers and Snipers, so of course a very, very well equipped anti-infantry force. And now the second Rifleman squad as well needs to retreat back across, and they might... Nah, they will not go down to that Sturm Pioneer. They might take one casualty, but they're able to get around the shack and into medium to long range, where these STG-44s aren't going to have as much of an impact as they normally would. Right side of the map has fallen into the hands of our American players. Very nicely played from Insane Spanky and Naslu, getting together a coordinated push to push back the Germans back across the river and grabbing themselves some very, very important points, such as this fuel and, of course, the BP that they're going to be able to capture. This bringing them a little bit back in terms of both fuel and manpower income. And, of course, in terms of VPs, because at this point, as you can see, 424 points for our allied players. Not really the best possible thing after 6 minutes. They've definitely been hurt a little bit by the triple cap that the Germans were able to put on them briefly. But still, even a brief triple cap can be very, very hurting in the long scheme of things. Very daring assault from the Volksgrenadiers, charging across the water and the negative cover, getting into close range with a lieutenant, of course with the Thompson and the bar, absolutely getting slaughtered in that engagement and being forced to retreat also from the mortar fire. But at the same time, we have a nice 2-2 armored car from Just One, which will not right now be countered by anything. We have a utility car coming in from Spanky, and looks like Naslu went for a company command post with the captain. He can go for a steward, which is something that at this point I would advise him to do, and I think that he's going to do it. Yep, in fact, you have the steward coming out, which is going to be very, very strong against 2-2. This rifleman spot's very, very close to the Ved 1. At Ved 1, they're going to be able to use the anti-tank rifle grenade, but they do manage to escape with the armored car just in time. Very nicely played by Just One, getting that armored car just in time. Haha. Sorry. The Allies are still trying to push up in the center, and they're going to be able to do some good work, especially with their lieutenant and their veteran riflemen against the unupgraded Volksgrenadiers and the unupgraded Grenadiers, but the numbers for the Germans are just too many. Right now, they're very, very close to their base. This is the thing about Hamlet, because the map is, again, not very deep. I'm going to call it deep, like from one base to the other, it isn't really that big of a distance. Also, the center isn't really that far away from your base. So whenever you are losing an engagement, you can just retreat and then come back on the field with a reinforced army fairly quickly, usually. Depending on, of course, also how much you're going to be waiting for healing, etc. You're generally going to be able to get your troops back on the field relatively quickly. So, really, I guess advances made in the center on a map like Hamlet aren't going to be as good as, for example, on Rails and Metal. Because on Rails and Metal, you're going to have to be walking back across a very, very big map to get back to the front lines once you've reinforced. Whereas in Hamlet, you're just right back on the field already. This also makes harassing the cutoffs a little bit harder, because the cutoffs are literally right next to the base. I mean, in a way, it reminds me a lot of a 1v1 map like Tamanville Approach, for example. Looks like in the meantime, or Angeville, looks like in the meantime we have a bit of a push from the Germans, as you can see, trying to go ahead and get that cutoff. They do manage to do that, but right near the base, of course, the Allies do have quite a lot of troops ready to respond in that. And right now there's a Kenwerfer on the field, and that looks like the only piece of AT that the Germans have. We have a Pack 40 coming in from Just One. This is a very, very wise investment, because I'm just going to speed it up because there isn't really anything different going on. Because, again, there's the Steward on the field, plus the M20 as well from Insane Spanky. So the Germans are going to have to... Ooh, there goes the armored car. Looks like it was mismicroed up against some riflemen, and then... What killed it? Well, I wish I hadn't sped up at this point, because I'm really, really confused. How did he get a kill on that armored car? I mean, I only see one rifleman with the anti-tank grenades over here. And I see nothing else. Might have been... Well, the captain went down from Nozlu. Looks like it got wiped at some point, but... Yeah, in general, okay, nice harassment move coming in from Nozlu, sending just a random infantry squad to the left side to get some... Ooh, there goes the M20. Yeah, the M20. Goes into the center and gets popped by the anti-tank gun and the Raketenwerfer. Well played by the Germans, utilizing the fact that the Raketenwerfer can stealth and utilizing the hubris from the Allies from just thinking that there's going to be just one piece of AT, the Raketenwerfer, on the field. Usually, when the Raketenwerfer shoots at your vehicles, especially, well, light vehicles like an M20, it's going to take about 2 shots to kill it, 3 shots for a Stuart. So you're thinking, well, just going to be coming in. If I get shot, I'm just going to go back. Oh well, there was also a pack, so it actually got one-shotted, and our player, Saint Spanky, didn't even have enough time to react. So that's pretty good. This also means that the Germans can pick up this bazooka that the M20 dropped, because the M20 does have a bazooka that it can drop, and it's going to go on the Sturmpioneer squad. Oh, pretty bad hit from the support gun. Takes out a couple of riflemen, forces them away. In fact, that was an entire squad, I think, of riflemen. Yep, entire squad of riflemen going down from Nozlu. So Nozlu losing a captain and a rifleman squad. Definitely going to be thinning out his infantry. Unfortunately for the Allies, this Volksgrenadier Vet 2 manages to get away. Very nicely played in the meantime. With the Stuart, I saw that Nozlu came in and dislodged these Grenadiers that were holding the VP. Then he was able to use the rifleman to capture the VP itself. So again, good harassment. Going to be forcing the Germans to redeploy some forces, including the sniper, and now the sniper is going to be exposed to the fire of the Stuart, which will relentlessly try to chase down the poor German marksman, and might even be able to get a killing blow on him. Of course, Stuart has to be very careful about these Grenadiers over here, and indeed we see that Stuart's going to have to retreat just in time, but oh no, these Grenadiers that were trying to recapture the strategic point are coming away, getting a nice ambush and a damaged engine. The pack is moving to try to capitalize on the damaged engine, but it looks like the Stuart will be able to escape. And anyway, of course, we do have a Veteran C1 vehicle crew, so the Veteran C1 vehicle crew can just hop out and use the repair critical to instantly get the critical of the damaged engine fixed, and the Stuart ready to escape at full speed. Nicely placing down a demo charge from those assault engineers from his Saint Spanky. This is exactly why I thought that he went for some assault engineers earlier on, to get out those demo charges, because of course getting the wipes off of the demo charges can be very, very strong to thin out the German infantry and prevent them from getting too heavily bedded up, which looks like it's a bit of a danger for our allied players. We have 4 Volksgrenadier squads from El Zacco, and right now he's going to be going for a Schwer Panzer quarters. He's got 190 fuel. Actually, no, he might be going for a mechanized regiment and then going for a command Panther from his special operations. But still, going for a Schwer Panzer is going to give him the Obersoldaten available to him. Although with 4 Volksgrenadier squads, it's making me doubt whether or not he wants to go for the Obersoldaten at all. He might just want to try to overwhelm the Allies with more infantry than they can possibly deal with. Right now, the biggest problem of the Germans is that they're not doing what Nozlu is doing and putting pressure on the right side, doing harassment, capturing points, taking out isolated units. Right now, Nozlu is definitely doing that well, and it's kind of forced the Germans to redeploy, as you can see, an MG42 and a AT gun and an engineer squad over here, and then here comes the Panzer Grenadiers. So the amount of resources that the Axis are putting towards the left side of the map, towards holding these 2 points, is very, very high in comparison to what, for example, the Allies are putting towards the right side of the map. The Allies are using a couple of demo charges and the Lieutenant squad, whereas the Germans are bringing in, their essentially best infantry squad with the Panzer Grenadiers, and then they were using the MG42 and their only source of AT to just hold the left side against any kind of incursions. So this is just kind of the usefulness of putting down pressure and harassing, because of course at this point, the Axis will be essentially kind of imbalanced towards the left side in a way, and if the Allies can seize upon this opportunity, get a lot of forces together, get a nice coordinated push towards the center, they can maybe do some good damage to the Germans there. Looks like the truck will not be turned yet. Maybe El Zacco is actually kind of, I guess you could say, weighing his options, because at this point, a mechanized regiment headquarters will be quite useful if the Panther comes out, because of the ability to repair it faster, and also because of the ability to bring out the Stuka. to later on support the Panther against any kind of anti-tank guns. You can use the barrage from the Stuka to soften up the ATs and then move in with the Panther. I don't know, just a bit of a thought. Whereas a Schwer Panzer Headquarters would not only provide a avenue to get better infantry with the Oversoldat, but it would also provide a bit of a defensive position. Looks like the demo charge over here was blown without any consequences. These Volksgrenadiers are taking a little bit of fire, as were these Volksgrenadiers. These Volksgrenadiers, however, managed to get a nice cutoff move on the Allies, thus reducing their fuel income even more. Right now, it seems like in the VP game, the Axis are still pretty much ahead. The Sniper's still alive, and it's gotten 18 kills, so it's doing its job mostly, getting lots of pressure done on our Allied players. The Americans are particularly vulnerable to snipers because they don't have counter snipers of their own that they can use to either kill the sniper outright or force them into not firing and just stealthing and going into a game of counter sniping, because those two are essentially the ways you reduce damage done to your own infantry. If you have a counter sniper, you either kill him outright if the enemy makes a mistake, or the enemy's afraid of making a mistake so that they don't shoot quite as much and your infantry can just kind of more safely operate around the battlefield. Which, in the end, if you think about it, they're both kind of the same, two sides of the same coin. So overall, the fact that the Americans don't really have a way to do that is a real big problem for them when they're facing the Wehrmacht, and very well played from Just One, utilizing this fact to its full potential. Very good advantage brought out from that sniper. And right now, it seems like the Allies are focusing mostly on the right side of the map. They're coming in with a pretty decent push. There's an M10 on the field from the Armored Company from Insane Spanky. Insane Spanky hasn't gone for a tier 3 with the Major. That is because he kind of wants to spam M10s, I would think. M10s and, of course, later on the Bulldozers. He's thinking of using them instead of going... Oh, no, he has gone for a Major. Then why the hell... Oh, never mind. I'm bad. So he has gone for the Major, and he's going to be able to supplement his Shermans and later on with some M10s. Oh well, we'll see. Pretty big infantry engagement. Looks like it's going in the favor of the Allies thanks to the support of this 50 cal. Of course, that is why the Lieutenant here can be very useful. Even though it doesn't have the AT gun, we have the first tank, full-fledged tank from the Germans. We have a Panzer IV from Just One, and of course this kind of tells us that El Zacco is going for that Panther. He has gone for the Schwer Panzer Headquarters. He's positioned it back into his base instead of, for example, over here covering the fuel point on the left side, so that he does not lose it in any kind of way. Just going for that safe option, although I perhaps would have opted for a more aggressive placement of the HQ, because again, it's a 2v2 on Hamlet. The Axis do have a bit of a advantage when it comes to VPs, so they would want to logically keep hold of that advantage as much as possible. And if they can defend their own left side from random allied incursions of just one infantry squad, then that's even better. Right now, the Grenadiers are pushing up and trying to get some kills done on these support weapons that the Allies have. The Pack Howitzer has been forced back into base, but the Stuart is able to easily defend the area against the German troops, even putting down some fire on the sniper and forcing him to retreat, so the Allied infantry will now be a lot more safer in pushing back the regular German troops, forcing them away, while the Panzer IV is being repaired. And yeah, I think that El Zacco is definitely going for this Command Panther at this point. If not, he would have already been saving up. Well, he might still be saving up the manpower for the normal Panther, but at this point, with only 10 fuel left on the Command Panther, yeah, I would go for the Command Panther because of course, the target vehicle ability that you have, and of course, if you can get it up to Vet 4, which is very rare, but if you can get it up to Vet 4, then it gives some pretty ridiculous bonuses to your infantry as well as vehicles. So that overall is a pretty nice thing. Also, it's going to be supporting his allies' Panzer IV quite a bit, so I do think that that's the better option, the smarter option. Now, looks like the Allies do still have the control over the right side of the map. I personally, if I were the Germans, would again be putting up a lot more pressure, a lot more harassment, and a lot more resources in a way into trying to capture the right side of the map from the Allies. The Germans are really just kind of holding onto the left side and pushing hard onto the center. And while that can be useful because it provides an access to the cutoff point for the Allies, cutting them off of the fuel on the right side, that's sort of eliminating the need, or part of the need, to go to the right side anyway. It's still not enough because the central part of the map. Again, this is Hamlet, so it's very close to the base, and it's much easier for the allies to defend this area rather than to defend the right side of the map, for example. So if I were the Axis, I would definitely put more resources into fighting the right side, fighting on the right side, and getting some points there in general, even for this reason alone. M10 going to be providing some good support against the Panzer IV, and looks like these Storm Pioneers might be in a bad way. There's still this demo charge running around, or well, not really running around, but still this demo charge looming dangerously over the Germans, and nicely pushing up with. How did you reveal? Oh right, these guys have a Minesweeper. That's something that kind of hard to see because they picked up the bazooka, and so the bazooka icon is showing, but they actually have a Minesweeper upgrade on them. As you can see, they do have the Minesweeper upgraded, so they can't see the demo charge, and the demo charge has been blown, likely by a rifle grenade from these Grenadiers. One of these Grenadier squads is going to go down, and a second one with Vetfree is almost down. This could definitely be a big blow to the Axis. Interestingly, Just One hasn't gone for any weapon upgrades on his Grenadiers, which is, in my opinion, a little bit reckless, because later on in the game, it can be strong to go for some LMG-42s, especially to deal with the Riflemen. There goes the M10, definitely pushing up way too far. While the M10 is a tank destroyer that sometimes likes to move in very aggressively and try to do the flanking maneuvers that normally you kind of expect from a medium tank and not a TD. It's still a TD. It doesn't really have a lot of armor. It doesn't have... Well, it's got some very good mobility, but at the same time, it also doesn't really have the best of reload speeds. The free ensure on the Wolverine really isn't the best gun at long range, but it's also, of course, again, because of its very low armor, very risky to go in. And in this case, well, the riskiness did prevail over the reward. And looks like the Yak Panzer that Elzaka went for a Yak Panzer. Why would he go for a Yak Panzer instead of a Panther? I mean, they both serve a similar role in that they're both anti-tank focused vehicles, but the Yak Panzer is much more anti-tank focused than the Panther. Of course, it's much cheaper at 135 fuel rather than 225 fuel, so 90 fuel the cheaper. But at the same time, it doesn't have a turret, and most importantly, it does not provide bonuses to allies because it's not a command vehicle. And that's really the main thing that I would have liked to see, both a vehicle that can deal with allied armor and support the other German tanks. This, I think, would have been a pretty good position. Also, definitely moving it a little bit too far with the Yak Panzer. What if there was like a random M10 waiting here to strike and get behind you? That was definitely a bit of a reckless charge with no really covered flank position. The flanks were very exposed, and so the Yak Panzer could have been flanked. That was pretty dangerous. Meantime, the M8A1 from Spanky went down. Looks like he was trying to use that as a sort of a supplement for these two field howitzers, these two pack howitzers, to get a little bit of extra sort of on-map artillery for the allies. Of course, this is very important to get on-map artillery for both sides, because at this point, we're starting to get into that phase of the game where nobody's really winning too hard when it comes to PPs, because no one has been able to get out of triple cap. So the, I guess, attrition win condition is now open to the players. What is this? Well, essentially starting to wipe out enemy squads and getting some good damage done to the enemy manpower pool, so that at some point they can't really use their fuel as well as their manpower, because they just have to continuously reinforce their infantry, and they can't spend their fuel on vehicles because of that. So far it hasn't been achieved by the allies, but with two pack howitzers, one at 18 kills and one at 7 kills, both starting to gain some serious veterancy, it is starting to become clear that if the Germans don't really deal with these pack howitzers, they're going to be starting to take pretty huge casualties, and it's only a matter of time until one of these, especially low number squads from the Wehrmacht, these 4-man teams, are going to start to get just completely wiped by the pack howitzers without any chance of the Axis saving their troops, any chance of reaction at all. So if the Allies can definitely get a couple of lucky wipes or something, then they're going to have an easy time getting the infantry superiority with their riflemen. And it's essentially what they're aiming for also, because it seems like Insane Spanky is going for a lot of infantry-based forces. He's going to go for a third MG to try to hold to, I guess, some more of the VPs and get some more suppression onto infantry engagements. Then he's also going to be going for a, pretty much his first AT gun in the game. He was the one that went for the lieutenant tier in the early game. He's back-ticked to the captain, and that's, in my opinion, a very, very smart move because he's going to want to get an AT gun later on. Also, he's using his captain as a supervise to get out those units faster. That's a neat little interaction. Yeah, he's going to need to perhaps something to deal with the German tanks later on. And his M10 spam strategy, if he cannot keep M10s alive and get a sort of critical mass of M10s, a death ball going, that's not going to really work out. Even Sherman's overall. Nozlu has a Sherman, and he's also got a Jackson, so that's a very good pick as well to get some extra AT. But Shermans will also be very inadequate when something like a Jagdpanzer or a Panther comes out, and no Panther, we have a back tech again, this time not from the Allies but from the Germans, the mechanized regiment, and going for a Stuka. Pretty interesting little choice. On the left side, the Panzer IV doing some cleanup, looks like, of the Allied infantry, forcing away the Stuart, but the Stuart's going to come back with the support of the big brother Jackson, and the Jackson should be able to scare away the Panzer IV quite easily, although it is very exposed and sort of by itself. So right now, Nozlu with only 2 infantry units and really not a lot of, in the way of, I guess, versatile jack-of-all-trades type of units. He needs to be very careful with this Jackson so that it doesn't get flanked, for example. Right now, there's only a couple of tank destroyers in the center for the Germans, so that's really not the biggest worry for a flanking maneuver. The Allies can kind of just be sure that they're not going to get flanked by swarms of medium armor anytime soon, because of course the Germans are still kind of trying to be on the defensive, it seems. But can be very, very dangerous for later on, so I would advise that Nozlu go for perhaps even a couple of rear echelon troops at this point wouldn't be too bad, because he would be able to upgrade them with a couple of bazookas, thus making them a bit of a threat to enemy vehicles, and also making them very effective at just harassing randomly around the map, because a rear echelon troop isn't as valuable as a rifleman. First, Stuka Barrage going to be coming down on the center. It looks like on the support weapons, no, on the 2 pack howitzers, taking out one of the pack howitzers, in fact the one with the most veterancy. So pretty good first barrage, going to be taking out a couple of high value targets in the back lines of the Allies. In fact, also taking out a AT gun crew. Someone just almost killed himself on the turn. That's right below my window, so if you heard a bit of a rubbery sound, that's why. And yeah, this AT gun is going to need to be repaired as well. As you can see, the HP bar on this AT gun is non-existent because the Stuka Barrage hit it with a 380mm rocket straight to the face. Wait, no. What kind of caliber are these rockets? I do not know. Is there a 28 centimeters, so 280mm rocket hitting it straight in the face? Not that good for a scrap of metal as this anti-tank gun. Of course, only saved by the fact that it was crewed. So because it was crewed, it can be completely destroyed in one go. It had to first lose its crew, and then it could be destroyed. But little technicalities aside, it seems like we have a bulldozer on the field from Spanky, which is going to be supplementing his 1 anti-tank gun and an anti-infantry role. Now, the 1 anti-tank gun isn't going to be enough to deal with the German vehicle spam, well, not really spam, but vehicle force that's overwatching the center. But what the Allies clearly are trying to do, and what they were doing with the pack howitzers, and what they're going to have to do with the pack howitzers soon enough once they recruit them, and what they're trying to do also with their M8A1s, bulldozers, is to deal with the German infantry, and then allow their own infantry to just charge in and sort of bowl their way into a position of strength where they can keep this central VP at least neutral most of the time, and then use their AT guns as a deterrent against the German armor. And in here, they're very much helped out by the fact that the Germans, for some strange reason, decided to go for a Jagdpanzer and a Stug instead of, for example, a Brummbär, which right now just one is doing, but going for a Brummbär earlier is what I mean. Or indeed a Panther command tank from El Zocco, which wouldn't have been that useful against infantry anyway, but it still would have been better than a Jagdpanzer IV. Ooh, pretty devastating Stuka Barrage. Still, these devastating Stuka Barrages, this one actually got 8 kills, so again, keeping up its sort of general effectiveness of 8 kills a barrage. So far, definitely very effective, but it's not going to be enough to really deal with the insane superiority that the Allies can bring in when it comes to infantry as support weapons. I mean, just look at this impressive array that they do have. 3 pretty decently, I guess, upgraded and embedded up rifleman squads from Nazlu, plus a pack howitzer. He could also get a lot more out with his 980 manpower, but I'm guessing he's just kind of waiting to see how things are going to go, and then he's going to be deciding what to bring out. In fact, this Brum Bear is going to definitely be a bit of a thorn in the Allied side, and we also have a Calliope on the field for Nazlu, so going for the tactical support and getting even more artillery on the field. Insane Spanky has, well, a pretty decent rifleman force with 2 riflemen, another very, very well-equipped unit, the lieutenant, that's going to be very strong against German infantry, a captain, assault engineer with, of course, the flamethrowers, rear sound troops, 3 machine guns, mortar, AT gun, and perhaps somebody's going to be reclaiming this pack howitzer soon. So really, when it comes to the infantry, while there are 4 Volksgrenadiers for Old Salko and a couple of infantry squads as well from just 1, the Allies do definitely still have the superiority. It looks like, well, the Brumbar is definitely proving itself in the center, and Elzako still kind of waiting on his laurels with his fuel. He still doesn't have enough manpower to really use it well. The Calliope did manage to get its first barrage off. It didn't look to be too particularly effective. I don't even see where the Calliope went, in fact. Sherman Calliope, only 2 kills. The Allies are taking substantial casualties due to the Brumbear, though. This is exactly what an earlier Brumbear instead of the Stug could have done for the German fortunes. It's already gotten 10 kills, and it's managed to prevent the Allies from gaining infantry superiority in the center yet again, thus kind of clearing the way for these Volksgrenadiers to capture the center VP of the map. We have 414 VPs for the Germans, whereas the Allies are down to 250, so basically down by half of the tickets. The Allies are definitely going to be needing to put down some extra pressure again on the left side of the map. It's not been done in a long, long time. For Nazlu, he hasn't sent any units there in the past, I would say, 6 or 7 minutes, which is, in my opinion, again, a bit of a mistake. But at this point, thanks to also the fact that there's this Brumbear on the field and the Stuka, the Germans were able to put up a lot more pressure in the center and force the Allies into sending more of their units towards the sort of main fight over the central island. Well, not really island, but it kind of looks like an island with these pawns. And that's definitely been very beneficial for the Axis. Ooh, this Grenadier squad might definitely go down. So close. Does go down. Very, very well played from the Allies. Pushing through with the knives, twisting it in the wound, and getting the kill as much as he could do, pretty much. He was just in essentially the firing arc of the MG, so just a couple more seconds and his squads would have been pretty much suppressed. And so he was able to, very nicely before that, get the kill off, while his infantry was still up and shooting. In the center, we have pretty much the Allies reclaiming this position, partially thanks to the Calliope barrage that this time did a couple of good kills on the German troops. Looks like some kind of support weapon going down. That might have been a Pio squad, actually. Looks like Pioneers, and it's 4 of them, so I'm guessing that these are Pioneers that went down. Yep, only 1 Pioneer squad for just 1. I would think that he had 2. Oh no, yeah, definitely he lost some Pioneers. He's replacing them right now. Doesn't want to fall below the count of 2. Stuka hits again, doesn't really do all that much this time. Yeah, very unfortunate. Gets a little bit of damage off on the Jackson, but right now it looks like the Allies, because of this misuse of the Stuka barrage, they're going to be able to come in with their infantry quite safely in a blob. Although, nicely flanking in with the secondary infantry force from Nazlu isn't going to be really all that useful, however. He's going to be coming back towards the center to support his ally. His ally taking pretty ridiculous casualties from the veteran C5 Volksgrenadiers. Another flame grenade coming in. Oh no, it's actually a grenade assault. It's going to miss completely, and the Volksgrenadiers are going to be forced to retreat by the spam of BAR fire. And very, very nicely, looks like one of the rifleman squads goes down. That was one of the veteran C3 ones, so that's a pretty big loss for Nazlu, thanks to the grenades from these Panzergrenadiers, the grenade assault, and also a nice support gun shot, it looks like. So that's really the value of having that indirect fire. having those good explosive weapons, for example, the Brum Bear and the good use of grenades. But at the same time, I'm still kind of surprised that these Grenadiers are not upgraded with some LMG-42s. I would think that just one would be saving up some munitions, which looks like he's using mostly on grenades, rifle grenades, and perhaps something else. I don't know. Would be saving up a little bit more of those munitions to get out a couple of upgrades on his infantry. And then later on, maybe even saving up some munitions for a Stuka bombing strike on the Allied artillery line, or perhaps even the ambulance, which would be very, very good. For the Germans, if they were able to use the artillery flares, which also don't require an airplane to fly over to give recon and line of sight. So if the artillery flares are dropped into an area, there is a way to spot them. There's going to be a little like flare that's visible, but it's much harder to spot than definitely the plane, which goes down on the minimap. Panzer Barrage not really doing all that well. So if the artillery flares plus Stuka bombing strike combo were used while the Allied infantry were retreating and healing up from the ambulance, that could be devastating to the Allied infantry force. I would definitely love to see an attempt, at least, at that. But it requires a little bit of coordination because, of course, it's two different commander abilities from two different players. It requires the Allied infantry to be retreating back to base. It requires both sides of the bargain, both the OKW and the Wehrmacht, to have enough munitions. And it requires them to be talking to each other, which may not be happening. Center looks like the Allied armored force has been beaten back once again by the Stugs and the Jagdpanzer. Right now the P4 is up to Vet 2 with those 24 kills, so proving its worth and its versatility, getting some, I'm guessing, good damage on both infantry and vehicles. If it's gotten up to Vet 2 and it's got 25 kills, that would definitely tell us that he's shot both at vehicles and at infantry. Jackson moving up with some very low HP levels, definitely a little risky. In fact, extremely risky. If this Jagdpanzer were to decide that maybe it's going to kill it. What was that explosion? Hold on. Wow. Okay, so the pack howitzer. Yep, high explosive anti-tank rounds and veteran C2. Getting an extremely, extremely good direct hit on the Jagdpanzer and taking it down enough so that the Jackson over here from Naslu, the veteran C2 Jackson, coming in and getting the finishing blow off. Very good snatch from the Allies, as that was a veteran free, I believe, Jagdpanzer. And Jagdpanzers, the more they get vetted up, the stronger they get. Well, that's obvious, but even more so than a normal vehicle, because later on they do get some ridiculous bonuses towards damage, especially when they shoot from invisibility, from the cloak. To get an ambush shot off, they can start to become absolute destruction machines, and it could be very, very bad for the Allies if they had let that Jagdpanzer survive until Vet 4, Vet 5. That would have been the worst possible thing in general. Looks like El Zacco still hasn't gone for that Command Panther. I mean, I'm not sure why he went for this Special Operations doctrine, if not to go for either a couple of Obersoldaten with the STG-44s and a Command Panther. I mean, he's used the artillery flares once or twice. He's used the grenade assault a couple times, but overall, very disappointing use of the doctrine. He could have definitely made much better things happen with that. Looks like, that poor Reckenwerfer is going to go down to the Bar Horde. The Bar Horde is pushing through and doing a ton of damage on the Allied, or the Axis positions near the river. Grenade assault is going to be forcing them back. And this allows the Allied armor to come through without fear of Panzerfausts. Again, because of the huge focus, in a way, on anti-vehicle that the Germans put into their armored force, and with the fact that they used 185, is it 85, 90, 80? 85, 185 fuel on artillery, with the Stuka being 100 and the Panzerwerfer being 85. That's really not the best way to stop a big, huge rifleman horde. If it's coming for you, if it's well microed, if it's split up enough. There goes the Stuk to the Jackson, I believe. Yep, veterans free. Very, very dangerous right now for the Axis. They're going to need to get rid of this guy. Because, yeah, it is very, very good to have these artillery pieces when it's like a standoff. And by these artillery pieces, I mean artillery pieces that require you to aim a barrage once every minute or so. Not talking about actually something like the pack howitzer, which can shoot on its own autonomously and have an auto fire. That's a bit of a different little mechanic altogether. when you have barrage-based artillery pieces, once you fire the barrage, you're gone. That unit is off the field for the next, minute or whatever. Oh, looks like he was going for a KT. Well, that's a good choice. That's a good choice. Still strange that he didn't do that before, though. Can you go for both a KT and a... Nope. Cannot go for both a KT and a Command Panther. Interesting. So he could have gone for the KT much earlier if that was what he was planning to do the entire time, but I don't think that's what he was planning to do the entire time. Or maybe it was. If he went for a Jagdpanzer... Yeah, if he went for a Jagdpanzer, he was definitely planning on going with a KT for the extra entry infantry if he hadn't gone for a P4 in the meantime. Finally, a bit of harassment coming in on the right side. Very nicely coming in with the Grenadiers and getting a cap off. It's going to force the MG, the 50 cal, to reposition and stop that, because if he does not stop that, that's going to be a triple cap for the Germans. And the Allies only have, 4 minutes of triple cap left in them, essentially. If a triple cap is enforced and kept by the Germans, only 4 minutes remain before the Allies lose the game. So very nicely going to be coming in with the Stuart and going to be repulsing these Grenadiers. In fact, also with the Bulldozer killing them outright. So there goes the last of the Grenadiers, going down valiantly for the fatherland, trying to get a bit of a sigh of relief, a bit of a breath of fresh air for the Germans, as they've kind of been pushed onto the back foot this entire time. I still feel like sending the Pioneers would have been a better choice, because one, it's, well, in general, not as important of a unit to keep on the front lines, because they're less effective at fighting, and two, if you lose them, well, they're cheaper to replace, and also it's in general not as bad. And it looks like this will motivate Insane Spanky to send his own, harassment squad to the left side. Unfortunately, that's stopped by the MG42. Meantime, in the center, the Königstiger taking some pretty big fire from these two Jacksons from Naslu. He's been using them very, very well, it seems. Also with the support of a P-47 recon run. Managing to get some line of sight on these German vehicles. There goes the veteran C2 Panzer IV. That's a very, very nice pickup for the Allies. In fact, coming in with the HVAP rounds on this Jackson and trying to chase down the King Tiger, doing some good damage, destroying the main gun, and I'm thinking that at this point the two Jacksons will be trying to charge in and get the finishing shot off on this KT. No, they won't. Ooh. Perhaps a little bit too cautious from these Jacksons. It's never too cautious to play with the Jacksons, because the Jacksons are very valuable. They're pretty expensive at 135 still. No, 125. 135s in the... Or perhaps 145 in the balance patch. Don't remember. Might have been changed. Still, if you're going to be losing an M10, you're going to be losing a unit that's like 90 fuel, 300 manpower. If you're losing the Jackson, you're using a unit that... has 35 more fuel in terms of cost and 50 more manpower. So as you can see, the scale there is a little bit different, and that little bit can make a pretty huge difference overall. So you don't really want to lose Jacksons any time soon. Also, the Jacksons are better when they vet up. Overall, they are more effective at long range. They have better penetration, and again, they have better vets. So that's even more of a big incentive to keep them alive than, well, they're more expensive to replace. So again, the whole point was that Naslu keeping himself safe really doesn't surprise me. Cautious play sometimes can lead to some pretty big benefits down the line. Of course, the Allies were going to have to deal with the KT once again soon enough, as well as a Panther from Just One. Just One going for the Panther and not for the Elephant Heavy Tank Destroyer, which is, in my opinion, at this point, a mistake. Because instead of going for a Jagdpanzer from El Zocco, I think that going for an Elephant would have been better for Just One, because the Elephant, with its much, much bigger range than the Jagdpanzer, and its in general better resilience, is going to be able to counter these Jacksons, even with the Jacksons' veterancy, giving them a bit of a leg up. Because the Jagdpanzer IV normally relies on its pretty good armor to keep itself at range and trying to sort of let the Jacksons miss or not penetrate with a lot of shots. For example, what they're doing right now with this KT, even though the Jagdpanzer isn't the same thing. But if the Jackson is vet free, then they get the penetration bonus, I believe, at Veterancy 3. Yeah, they do get a penetration bonus. So at that point, it's a little bit too late. And even at Vet 1, they get the HVAP rounds, which of course gives them a penetration bonus, even though it's temporary and you need to spend some munitions in order to use it. That's still pretty bad for this JP4. Whereas the the elephant would be a little bit better equipped to deal with that. Unfortunately, it looks like the Jagdpanzer pushed up way too close, ate a rifle grenade for its troubles, and now its damaged engine prevents it from escaping, as well as its own little camarada here, the King Tiger, prevents it from escaping. Very nice usage of attack round through the smoke. I'm wondering what that smoke was from. Looks like it was actually a smoke from an allied infantry squad. Interesting. Or maybe from the Sherman. Yep, it was from the Sherman bulldozer. Still, very nicely played from the allies, getting that kill. And oh, it looks like it's just a mess. A couple squads going down from Insane Spank. It looks like a couple of support weapon teams might have gone down as well. I'm not sure. Here comes a Calliope barrage in the center, taking out a couple of infantry squads and forcing the King Tiger to rethink its life choices a little bit. Also making the allies rethink their life choices by plastering their infantry into nothingness. At this point, the allies still have a little bit of a superiority when it comes to infantry, but surprisingly enough, we have El Zalco, who has managed to keep all of his Volksgrenadiers alive this entire time with Veterancy 5 all throughout. So these infantry squads definitely forming the backbone of the OKW force and allowing the KT to operate a little bit more safely than normally would be able to in this kind of a environment where there's Jacksons, there's pesky Shermans that could be trying to flank you, etc., etc. And also keeping our allies from going a little bit too heavy on the anti-tank sort of things, because Nozlu has 1,200 manpower and not a lot of pop cap, but I feel like an extra AT gun would be useful for him just to get the extra bit of firepower against the KT. Of course, he's not going for an AT gun, an extra one, because of also the Stuka. He's very afraid that the Stuka barrages would be destroying the anti-tank gun, I'm guessing. So yeah, that's pretty good. Mortar up to Vet 3 once again, and that's very good for the allies because this is going to be, again, providing that nice bit of constant indirect fire that's going to be slowly pecking away at the German troops, as you can see. And ooh, here comes a very potentially dangerous grenade, almost destroying that unit. Stuka barrage going to be coming down on the rear side of the Jacksons, it looks like, doing quite a bit of damage to them and forcing, I'm guessing, the Veterans 3-1 to retreat. The M10 squad is coming in from the flank and getting a very nice flanking maneuver off, but unfortunately the Tiger, well played from the Tiger, manages to get behind some obstacles and keep its frontal armor facing the M10s. The M10s are going to have to, some of them, take some punishment in the form of anti-tank grenades and Panzerfausts. One of them goes down, the Panther goes down from the M10 flank, but the M10 flank will never be able to get behind the KT once again, it looks like. So the second Jackson, M10, goes down. 180 fuel lost from the allies, opposing to 175? Because that's the Wehrmacht one. Yep, 175 fuel for the Wehrmacht. Also more manpower lost from the allies with that 600 manpower from the two M10s as opposed to 490 from the Panther. But at the same time, I think that this is an allied victory because it's forced the Axis back into a position where they're going to have to repair what tanks they have left. And the allies are going to be able to replace their own tanks faster than the Axis can because they have more reserves of resources than the Axis. So as you can see, Insane Spanky already coming out with another M10, which is going to be kept in reserve. Also, more importantly, both of the Jacksons survived. So more veterancy, and in fact, the more crucial veterancy, which are these two Jacksons. As I said, the veterancy bonuses on these things are really good, so you want to preserve them at all costs, and the allies were able to do just that. Also, it looks like the German infantry is taking some pretty huge punishment in trying to keep this central VP in the hands of Germany. They have been failing at that, and also the allies were able to steal a pack gun, which is huge, because the pack is pretty much the best AT gun in the game, and it is able to, from the front, deal quite a bit of damage to most of the German vehicles, as well as the allied ones. So if the allies are able to steal this pack, carry it away, and baby it up as if it were their own, then they're going to be able to put down a lot of pressure on these German tanks. Looks like the Brumbear is coming to say to put an end to that, and yeah, it will succeed at doing that. But still, the weapon crew, itself is now much closer to the Allied lines than the Germans would like. Looks like the Panzergrenadiers are going to be trying to steal it back, though I guess that would not be stealing, which could be a good idea. Very unfortunate. Stuka Barrage almost destroys one of the Vetri Jacksons. Well, rather, the Vetri Jackson. Vetri Jackson comes in and destroys the KT. Very nice snipe coming in at that last moment. Again, that's the power also of that recon run. The Allies were able to see the KT because of the excellent usage of the recon run from Nazlu, constantly getting some planes out over the German lines, getting the line of sight of the Allied vehicles, whereas the Germans were just kind of lurking in the blind sea of nothingness of the fog of war. And at that point, that kind of meant that the KT was just kind of lumbering in. I kind of saw what happened. It tried to retreat, but it definitely went a little bit too far, and then wasn't able to escape. Not quite a bridge too far, but definitely a couple of meters too far when it comes to the in-game units. Should have definitely retreated a little bit earlier. So at this point, what can the Germans do to recover from this situation? Well, they can wait until the Allies make a big, huge mistake, which they might be doing right now. Here comes the M10 push. It's going to get stopped in its tracks by the AT gun, but the AT gun has a very, very limited arc of fire, and in fact misses one of its first shots. The M10s will be able to get into the flank of the Jagdpanzer. Jagdpanzer goes down. M10s decide to chase down the Brummbär instead of going after the Stuka, the Veteran C4 Stuka, which might be a mistake, or it might be what saves these M10s from complete destruction. Looks like they're trying to do that also, saving themselves, aka by killing these Panzergrenadiers by crushing them. There goes a Panzerwerfer, very, very well played, and the damaged M10 goes into a Teller Mine that's been on the field there for pretty much the entire game. So that comes into play and comes back to bite the Allies in the ass and pay off for itself. At the same time, however, I'm guessing that this Brummbär is going to go down. This M10 is going to kind of sacrifice itself to destroy the Brummbär, which is definitely a good sacrifice because this was a vet-free Brummbär. Both more expensive and more valuable in terms of veterancy than this Veteran 2 Wolverine, which might still survive, actually. What's trying to kill it is a Veteran C2 pack, but the Vet 2 pack doesn't seem to have much of a line of sight on the M10 at all, and it's lacking infantry support and vehicles to come in and chase down the M10 Wolverine. Also, looks like one of those invincible Veteran C5 squads might be going down right now. Here comes Nazlu's forces trying to get the last finishing blow, but no, the Immortals will survive and get back to base. We've only just a little sliver of health, but that will be enough to rebuild the entire force out of that. Nazlu still coming in with infantry, doing some pretty good work, and also with the support of this Veteran C3 Sherman with 32 kills, he's going to be able to easily push away these Volksgrenadiers. Now that all of those tank destroyers, well, spoke too soon, but all of the tank destroyers were smashed into bits by the M10s, I was going to say the Sherman has a much, much easier time coming into the center and providing support for our allied ground troops. Problem is the Elephant comes in and puts an end to that, because of course that is going to be quite dangerous for the Allies to deal with. Now, they have 2 vet-free Jacksons, they have a couple M10s, in fact one of these is vet-free, so that's also very good, because at vet-free they get mobility, rate of fire, flanking speed, turret traverse, moving accuracy, and also the HVAP ammunition of their own. So the M10s are going to be quite strong at this point, and they're going to be able to, even from the front, do quite a bit of damage to German vehicles with those HVAP rounds. And from the rear, well, that's going to be an absolute massacre against the Elephant. And that's also the problem with the Elephant against Armor Company, and in general against the Allies. I mean, the Allies do have quite a huge selection of excellent, fast-moving vehicles that can be very, very effective at flanking, and of course the Elephant is a big lumbering beast that has problems dealing with flanking, so you have to be very careful with that. And in general, what I would say the Germans do is try to save up on munitions and get a lot more mines, which looks like just one is doing, so that's good. So that if the M10s try to get a flanking maneuver off, they're going to be running into the mines, and then you can deal with them as they're wounded. They say a wounded animal is the most dangerous, but the wounded Wolverine is actually just a dumb target that can't really do anything. So you always want to be do something like this. And in fact, the M10s might be thinking about it and send forward the much more heavily armored bulldozer Sherman that has also a much bigger HP pool and can thus sort of take the damage a little bit more. Ooh, very nice Calliope Barrage, going to be forcing away the Pioneers. Of course, there isn't really much of an elephant left to repair. It's all repaired up anyway. Looks like the Allied infantry is still very daringly, along with the support of the Sherman, pushing right up to the German base, which is very good. The Allies are exactly doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're using their infantry superiority and their mobility advantage to get essentially everywhere around the map and push the Germans onto multiple flanks, multiple avenues of advance. Right now, they have kind of two fronts, actually no, three fronts open. We have the attack coming in from the right side, the attack coming in from the center, and the attack coming in from the bridge. And that's a little bit too much for the Germans as like limited arc of fire units to deal with. We have 2 packs, we have 2 packs from Just One. We have the Elephant from Just One. We have a Bunker and an MG42 team from him. And then from Elzaco, we have the Immortal Squad, or rather the Immortal Corps of Volksgrenadiers, and pretty much nothing else, with also just 1 Stuka, which, by the way, hasn't really been able to make too much of an impact in the later stages of its existence. It's got 29 kills and 1 vehicle destroyed. There goes the M10 on the mine, and the M10s don't really realize what they're running into. They're coming in straight towards the Elephant, which isn't really savory for them. 2 M10s are lost in this foolhardy attack. Straight up, this is exactly the strength of the Germans right now, especially with the Elephant. If the Allies come into one narrow corridor, one avenue of advance, frontal assaults, it's not going to go well for them. But if the Allies do come in with the flanks, then that's going to be what they want to do. I would like to see a little bit of harassment coming in on the right and left side again. Ooh, the Stuart has been left to the right side by Noslu. Interesting, he doesn't seem to want to micro the Stuart anymore, so he's just leaving it there as a defensive unit against any kind of German pushes there. But this is a big mistake, because the Stuart is a very, very fast vehicle, can zip around the map quite easily. So you can essentially move it around the map, and it's, well, actually just as effective at, ooh, very good, just as effective at defending the right side of the map as if it was sitting here this entire time. Because, well, for example, if these Sturm Pioneers were spotted and the Stuart was not here, and for some reason the Sturm Pioneers were able to break through the 50 cal MG, well, then you can just bring in the Stuart from another area of the map really, really quickly and deal with them anyway at the same time. It doesn't really provide too much of a challenge for a fast vehicle like the Stuart. And if you're using it around the map, you can also use it for other purposes. Now, a Stuart this late into the game cannot be that strong, I get it, but at the same time, you have to remember that this Stuart has 2 very, very strong abilities, Shell Shock and Point Blank Engine Shot. Point Blank Engine Shot can be very, very strong against something like the Elephant. Coming into the rear and getting the engine shot off can destroy the engine or damage it. And, of course, with a fast vehicle like the Stuart, you can get some pretty unexpected like lines of attack coming in. So, for example, you could get the Stuart coming through like right here at this point, going across and getting behind the Elephant. You could try to do that. Or, at the same time, oh, there goes the Sherman, very unfortunate. Or you could use the Stuart as a sort of supportive vehicle with the Shell Shock, because the Shell Shock pretty much guarantees a stun. I believe it guarantees a stun, but it may also guarantee some other kind of critical, depending, I don't know. I know that, for example, on 222s it does destroy the engine a lot, but I'm not sure if it can like go below the stun in terms of the tiers of criticals that it can inflict on the enemy. I'm not sure if it goes down all the way to like vision block or something. Yeah, I think it doesn't always stun vehicles, but still, if you get behind it, you can definitely stun the Elephant anyway. And once you stun the Elephant, well, yeah, then you can go on the hunt. The Wolverines can come in and skewer the Elephant from all directions, pretty much, and take its meat for dinner. Ooh, pretty good push coming in on the left side from Insane Spanky. Finally using his strategic mobility advantage and getting into an area where there's a couple of AT guns with his bulldozer, but managing to get behind them before the bulldozer takes too much damage. In fact, one of the AT guns goes down in one shot from the 105mm howitzer. The other one goes down to the flamer of the assault engineers. Assault engineers are going to be trying to deal with the armored car and these German engineers who are attempting to force them back. Of course, the bulldozer crew is going to be coming in and destroying all of these weapons that the Germans are using in the bunker as well. But the Germans will be able to recover some of their lost ground and, I guess, keep control over this left side of the map, although with a much more tenuous grip at that because of, well, the MG and the AT gun and the other AT gun being destroyed. That is going to mean that they're going to have to be recruited, and they're going to lose their veterancy. So that's not good at all for the Germans, and it's going to make a nod push into the left side of the map a little bit easier. Noslu's infantry swarm is still healthy-ish. Yeah, 3 squads are still pretty much at veterancy free. 2 squads at no veterancy. However, both upgraded with double BARs. They can definitely, well, actually no, one of them upgraded with double BARs and another one with no upgrades. They can still put down some pretty excessive hurt on the Germans. Looks like one of the Immortals finally went down. It was the first, well, I'm not sure if it was the first, but one of these Volksgrenadier squads. It's going to get replaced, which is surprising because, I mean, El Zacco doesn't have a lot of manpower in comparison to his fuel count. He definitely has a lot of fuel that he could be using for something like a new King Tiger or a new, or rather a Command Panther. But hey, he's very, very afraid of those 2 vet-free Jacksons. So definitely the vet-free Jacksons pulling their weight together and, well, putting enough fear into the Germans that they don't really want to do too much with their vehicle. Possibly vehicle advantage, I guess you could say. They did have a vehicle advantage in the early and mid-game. And then, thanks to those 2 Jacksons, they were shut down. And now, with the Calliope and the artillery and infantry superiority, the Allies are slowly but surely getting a little bit of a iron grip on the game overall. Interesting grenade. He was afraid that the Pioneers were to come in and get the MG crewed. Another Broom Bear is on the field from Just One. So clearly disproving his name yet again, as he does not go for just 1 Broom Bear, he goes for a second one at that. And the Broom Bear is going to be very, very effective against this Rifleman push. But we have the big M10s coming through, actually kind of making a mistake and going through the strategic points' line of sight. Thus providing the Germans with a little bit of an advanced warning that they were coming, but it looks like they weren't really taking that advanced warning. The Stuka that's now Veterancy 5 almost goes down. The Jagdpanzer goes down. In fact, it is abandoned. The Stuka comes back around for some reason and almost exposes itself to the murderous rage of these 3-inch guns from the M10 tank destroyers. It's saved only by the fact that the Elephant is there sniping away at them, and the Panzer IV might go down soon enough if the Allies can bring up something to destroy it, or an alternative, get like, rather no, because they're the Americans, so they can't really just put a portion of a squad in there. They're going to be using the, RNG. Wait, you can anti-tank rifle grenade empty. Wow, didn't know that. So, good rifle grenade on the empty tank, destroying it. And oh, the RNG almost destroying the Rifleman Blob. Very thankfully, they were able to escape just a bit of a half second before the RNG struck. And we lost an infantry unit. Looks like that was the barless infantry squad. So that's the worst kill that the Germans could do. I mean, it's not really that big of a loss for Noslu. He still got his best units pretty much intact. And also, Noslu's losing of some of these units kind of opens up his pop cap to get out something else. I mean, he could be going for a Sherman, maybe? I don't know. Or for Jackson, who knows. Wow, that RNG really didn't do a lot. That's unfortunate. So, VP situation much more close at this point. We have 141 points from the Allies and 188 from the Germans. So only 40, pretty much the game is balanced on the razor's edge at this point. And we need to see whether or not the Germans can respond, even with their clear deficiency when it comes to mobility. Because the Allies, with their very mobile squads, roving squads of doom of vehicles, they're able to just attack on one side and then on the other, and forcing the very sluggish and immobile German vehicles to just turn this way, turn that way, we'll deal with one threat or the other. And these lightning fast attacks just keep coming in. Very good play coming in from El Zacco, getting the kill. This was the veteran crew of one of the Jacksons. So this is essentially just as good as killing a vet-free Jackson. In fact, it also What's even better, they may even be able to steal the Jacksons for themselves. We'll see if this veterancy-free Jackson tries to go and mercy kill its brother, rather than fall it to the Germans. No. So it looks like the M36 Jackson is going to be able to escape back to German lines safely. And also one of these veterancy-free squads looks like went down from Noslu, possibly to the Brumbear. So the Germans just completely turning the tables once again on the Allies and getting a very good win off on the center. However, the flanks have fallen to the Allies, and center VP has also fallen to the Allies. So triple cap right now for our American players. If they can keep this going somehow by, for example, using their artillery to prevent captures of the center, or at least keeping a double cap going and keeping the center neutral, then this could be very, very dangerous for our German players. They only have 3 minutes of triple cap left in them. Very, very good. This is exactly what I was hoping to see from Insane Spanky. Coming in with the flank from these M10s, and at this point, what needs to be happening is that Noslu needs to come in with everything he's got. He also needs to bring in the Stuart, which has been kind of forgotten right now on the right side. One M10 goes down, the second M10 goes down. Looks like the Elephant is going to be taking a lot of fire for its troubles. The Sturmpanzer Brumbear goes down as well, I'm guessing. Yes, it does. But because the M10 Wolverine was forced up here to destroy the Brumbear and also kind of keep itself alive, the Elephant was able to escape. So overall, pretty good for the Axis overall. I would think that the Axis pretty much won this engagement. The problem is they still lack in terms of infantry. The Immortals are down to 2 squads and one that's kind of an apprentice. He's in training. And yeah, the Allies are able to bring in very nicely a Rifleman squad with that smoke grenade, using it nicely to obstruct the line of sight of the Königstiger as it fires, raging at the Allied troops that it cannot hit. So uselessly, it will not be able to stop the Allies from capturing the central VP. Thankfully for the Germans, we have a capturing attempt going on the left side, saving them once again from being triple capped. And this is definitely a bit of a suicidal push. The KT moves up, but it forgets itself. It forgets that the Allies still have 2 M10s ready to go. And that's going to be too much, I think. Vet-free Jackson, the other one goes down. So good play. There goes the Traitor Jackson that's been stolen. And at this point, the KT is going to go down to the flanking shots of these Wolverines. I hope. Come on. Oh my god. Are they going to let this guy escape? No, they aren't. Good. Also, with the support of the new Jackson, they're going to be able to destroy the KT. This is like the second KT? Or the third one? Third or second? I don't remember. Let's see. There goes another M10, a Veteran C21, second KT, and 4 Jagdpanzers. Damn. So that was destroyed by the Elephant. So once again, in the mobility versus firepower game, looks like the Allies are able to get some very, very good flanking maneuvers off. And oh my goodness, that was pretty good. Absolutely carnage-terrific from the Calliope, getting 2 kills on German Volksgrenadiers squads, allowing the Riflemen from keeping the central VP under the Allied hands, and also Insane Spanky sending in a Rifleman squad on the left side, capturing this point for the Forces of Freedom. And I'm thinking that this is going to be the end of the Germans. They only have 1.5 minutes of triple cap left in them, and so if they're not able to recover this point quickly, only 1 minute and they lose. If they're able to recover the point, 3 minutes-ish and they lose, still, Axis need to do something. And at this point, with no units on the field and no fuel reserves to bring out more armor, I don't think that they're going to be able to do anything. They can still use their pack guns to try to do something, for example, to keep this Sturmpanzer alive, but not much more than local successes. Overall, the strategic picture looks pretty well set on an Allied victory. Now, okay, yeah, this was definitely a game of mobility versus, I guess, firepower in a way. The German brick wall of TDs, always squaring off at the TD and, of course, the KT, squaring off against the M10s and the M36 Jacksons, which was a pretty exciting matchup to see, especially because Insane Spanky playing extremely well with M10 Swarm, allowing Noslu to use his M36 Jacksons, which normally in a stand-up fight against the German tank destroyers lose, the sort of continuous flanking and pestering that the M10s were doing, the distraction actions that forced the German TDs to turn this way and that way, and sometimes destroyed them just straight up, it allowed these Jacksons to operate pretty much as normal tank destroyers from the back lines and getting some good shots off on the Germans as they were trying to deal with the M10s. Interestingly enough, at this point, it looks like Insane Spankers was going in alone, very nicely using his 105mm Sherman to destroy the Pakan, and using the M10s, but looks like one of them is going to go down to the Elephant. That's when you know you fucked up, says the Wolverine. But the Elephant at this point can't really deal with the M10 one-on-one, unless this Pakan were to assist and do some good jobs. Oh, yeah. Not good for the M10. M10 might go down, but of course, might get saved by the VPs. VPs are going to go towards the Allies pretty soon. And yeah, I'm thinking that this pack gun is going to be able to save the Elephant from the destruction. Oh, will they be able to? Yes. Yes, they will. Wow, that looked pretty interesting as like the ambient stuff was exploding. The M10 goes down and explodes as well. But yeah, that's a bit like in every movie where like the main characters have just finished like a desperate fight and they've won just by the skin of their teeth. They're all like wounded and ragtag, and then over the hills comes the huge evil army and just pummels them into submission in one last final stand. That's pretty much what just happened to this Elephant. So 1 hour 11 minutes and 32 seconds. I already kind of said what I thought the Germans could have done better, but let me repeat them just very quickly. I think that El Zocco could have definitely used a quicker KT or a setup where you have a Command Panther supporting some, for example, Panzer IVs, and maybe you can sneak in a JP4 as well. But still, the backbone should have been either an early KT or an early Command Panther, trying to sort of catapult the early game advantage that the Germans were kind of able to secure into a late game advantage, whereas the Allies were able to make use of their artillery because the Axis didn't have enough sort of versatile vehicles that were able to push up, deal damage to both infantry and vehicles, and put pressure on the artillery. Because that was not there, the artillery was able to just sit back before, of course, the Stuka was brought out. But even after the Stuka was brought out, that was not enough. It was able to sit back and deal a lot of damage to the Allied, or rather to the Axis forces as they were coming through the very narrow choke points in the center. Then, Just One should have probably not gone for a Stug or two at the beginning. That was kind of a half-ass measure that didn't really go in either way. And either way meaning either towards being more safe from what the Allies were doing or more aggressive. More safe would have been a early Panzerwerfer purchase because he knew that the Allies were going to be relying on their infantry and artillery. He knew that because he was being the victim of it. So going for a Panzerwerfer early to shut that down would have been safer, quote-unquote. Whereas going for something like a Brumbear, supported by maybe a couple Panzer IVs, or maybe rushing for some other type of vehicle like a Panther, would have been the more aggressive option to try to bring the fight to the Allies. He didn't do either of those. He ended up waiting a long time to go for the Elephant, which wasn't the worst possible thing. I mean, the Elephant did do its job. It lured the Allies in a lot of the times into bad pushes to take out the Elephant because, of course, you don't want the Elephant just plinking away and over time just reducing your armored force to nothing. So you're kind of compelled into closing the distance as much as possible because the Elephant is a long-range unit, and then killing it. But at the end, it was not enough, also because his ally wasn't able to properly support him as much as he could, and because he was, in a way, not really planting down enough mines along the flanks to prevent these big flanks from happening. He was not able to properly defend himself along these avenues. Again, this also comes back to the fact that it's kind of the map. It's Hamlet. It's a very wide, not too deep map. So the Elephant, in that, has an sort of advantage, an upside. It can shoot very, very much sort of across the central area of the map and force the enemy vehicles back into base quickly. but at the same time, it's very vulnerable to flanking maneuvers. So that really didn't bode too well for the elephant's long-term health when there was a person who was playing Armored Company on the opposing end. And so, of course, with the M10s, it was obvious that he was going to win with the M10s because he was using assault engineers earlier on. So perhaps the Germans should have been going with less fixed gun TDs and more, I don't know, Panthers that, of course, have a turret and can keep up with the M10s a little bit better. I don't know, just a little bit of an observation. Go for more versatility instead of the rigid brick wall of firepower as they did. Perhaps doing a little bit more of the allied game. So I want to thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this huge, huge game, and I'll see you soon.